Hi, Matt.
Hi, Brian.
We're back. We took off a week. What happened? Where were we? What were we doing? Were we both busy? I think that's what it was. We have busy lives.
Yeah, space pirates, they're pesky. Someone's got to fight them off.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we were both called up by our respective militias to fight off these space pirates. But we're all safe. The world's still here, obviously, because we had another episode of More Than the Score, which is where you are. We all are right now, this second. What did
One
we do
could
this week,
say.
Matt?
Today we talked.
No. Before, I want to know
What?
what one could say.
Oh, I was going to say one could say that everything is more than the score, except for the score itself.
This is very true. There are no scores here. Although this week we do have two very high scoring games, and we talked to the reviewers for those two high scoring games. Why don't you tell the fine people which games?
That's right. On this episode, we had executive editor Lou Cataldi with his masterpiece of a game, Ori and the Blind Forest. And we also had our good friend Jake Decker, who reviewed Hotline Miami 2, Wrong Number.
Indeed, and I had a lot of fun talking to both of those guys. But like we mentioned in the interview with Jake, he's my favorite, and I'm not gonna hide it because not only did we get like 10 minutes of talking about the sweet, hot controversialness that I just made that up. That is Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number, but I'm pretty sure we talked about music for a little bit longer than we talked about video games.
It was like 20 minutes
It was like
around
20
there.
minutes, and I had a lot of fun. I thought it was great. It's just that's what we do these days. We talk about music with Jake Decker.
If
But
there's
we did.
someone out there that just doesn't like music and not listening to it, like why don't you like music? Write into the show. Tell us to stop. We might not. We probably won't, but
Yeah, we
we'll
probably won't.
we'll read it on the air.
Yeah, anything anybody sends, we will instantly. We'll make a special episode that day and say, hey, somebody wrote into us, and this is what they said, and we, you know, may respond in email form with the podcast attached.
Yes,
So that's the special offer we have for everyone.
it's on the
So,
table.
yeah, well, why don't we, we're both very busy men, like I said earlier, so how about we just go ahead and jump into these?
No, no, no. Damn it, I forget the term. You know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
Horseplay.
No smooth,
No horseplay.
no,
No,
no horseplay.
no
I
horseplay.
believe, I believe foreplay is what you're looking for, sir.
Oh, yeah, let's skip that. Jump right
Yeah,
in.
I mean, who needs that? When it's this good, you're just ready to roll at all times. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, just
And let's roll the tape. Here's a few minutes of me and Matt talking with Lou Cataldi, our lovely friend, referred to as the Nintendo Ninja, talking about a game that's not on the Nintendo. So here we are, talking about Ori and the Blind Forest.
Welcome, Lou. This is your first appearance on the show, and you reviewed Ori and the Blind Forest. So, tell us a little bit about who is Ori? What's he all about?
Okay, so Ori is a spirit thing child that comes from a tree, and I really wish I could put this better, but he's basically a forest spirit that that detaches from a tree, winds up lost from the life tree, and is adopted by this masked, hulking, cute, cuddly mother thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. It makes for a really endearing Pixar-like story if you start it out, and everything gets explained so beautifully and perfectly in the first like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've heard so much about the story without like too many details. But one of the big things that a lot of people are saying is this is a very good and emotional story. And so my next question, did you cry during this game at any point? Is this one of those emotional games?
And you have to tell the truth here. If you
I
lie about
have
this,
to
we'll
tr-
find out. We'll know.
I can say that I did not cry,
Damn it.
but I got goosebumps through the entire thing. Like I can still each time I go and listen to my review, and I just listen to the music, I get chills and goosebumps. Like that's how emotionally impactful this story is. That it could leave that kind of impression.
Nice. And so, is there any more like story details that you can talk about? Because it seems like this is. It's my impression that this, obviously, the platforming and combat elements are very important, but the story seems to be the big thing that everyone's kind of talking about. So, is there any details that you could maybe give us and give the listeners just as like a preview besides what you've told us already?
The very limited I've told you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to go into it too much because
Yeah.
that is the great part of this. I think that's why people do bring it up so much, is because it's very easy to have a platforming game that with great mechanics, that's all pretty normal. It's to have a Metroidvania platformer with a fantastic story and orchestrated music that really makes it beyond what it is. So anyway, going into the actual question. The story's kind of a mix of it's a story about what someone will do for the people they love, and it's a story about sacrifice and really deep emotional points, and none of it is portrayed in any kind of spoken word. It's all written word and just what's happening on the screen and the music. Ori gets lost. I mentioned that early on. Gets adopted by, I think Naru is the name of the motherly being who raises her, and they have this beautiful, peaceful life. And then all of a sudden, the Tree of Life explodes in a festival of light, which then somehow blinds the forest. Basically, just turns all of the trees into basically ash. And then there's no food. Naru, the motherly spirit who's been watching over Ori, goes and gives her all the food in the forest and goes hungry and then gets ill and kind of, looks like she's dead. You never really know. And then Ori's an orphan again. And yeah, that's the story. And it goes on from there. I don't want to ruin anything past that. That's all stuff you learn in the first 10 or 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And I like like Matt has said, the story is huge. One of the things that I read about, and obviously you don't have to go into detail about this, you just have to confirm. They talk about these plot twists. Is this like a platformer written by M. Night Shyamalan? Like what's the deal here? Like do they really catch you off guard that much? These like surprising plot twists?
There's definitely at least one really surprising plot twist.
Mm-hmm. Do you find out that Darth Vader is your dad?
No. What it's more along the lines of is it makes you reconsider the entire game, and it's very much still within the theme of the game about sacrifice for the ones you love and all of that. And yeah, it definitely, and it's just as big of an emotional impact as the beginning. So I think while the beginning nearly made me cry, I was way closer to the edge on the second point.
Gotcha. And like it also has great mechanics, obviously, because it's a great game. I'd like to compare everything that's a platformer to Rayman. That's like the gold standard for me.
Right.
How do the mechanics to you and Ori compare to Rayman?
Okay, so if we're talking Rayman feels great as a platformer. It's kind of floaty, which is good because that works out with the whole Rayman mechanics, and all of that feels well. The difference with this is that it's a Metroidvania, not just a platformer.
Mm-hmm.
So they stick with a lot more. They stick with a lot more pixel perfect precision, I would say. It's very responsive. It's very almost Twitch-based, you'd think. And that makes for a very fast-moving platforming game, which just honestly, like each power you get adds to the mobility of Ori. For instance, you'll be flying across the screen with a giant leaf, that you can use kind of like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker style. Or you're able to double jump early on in the game, and you're able to jump up walls, but then suddenly you're able to run up walls and just hang on there. So everything from the beginning onward works to giving the players more mobility and make it easier and more fun to get across the map. It's really a fascinating concept and one that works great with the game.
Interesting. Would you, I guess, do you have any criticisms about the game? Because this seems like one of those games that it receives such high scores across the board that not many people criticize it at all.
There's definitely criticisms, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, you're at the highest you can give a game on our site, and to a reader that might seem like the game is perfect, but just to clarify, there are criticisms.
Right. A 10 on our site doesn't mean it's a perfect game, because I don't think you can say anything is a perfect game. What a 10 means for us is that it's a masterpiece. It's one that you could actively recommend to anyone. If it's someone's first game into gaming, they will love gaming from then on. And it's one that will most likely be talked about 5 years from now, or as a generation-defining game.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have specific criticism?
Yeah, I do have criticisms. We'll move on to that. My major criticism, there's the whole criticism with it being difficult. I don't think it's that bad. I think everyone makes a big hoopla over that. I think it's fun dying as long as you know to save early and save often. Mm-hmm. The real criticisms would be that at the end of each temple, there's basically 3 temples in it. At the end of each temple, there's this escape sequence. And during that escape sequence, you're not able to create checkpoints like you are through the entire game. So that leads to a minute and a half or 2 minutes of having to nail everything completely, and it's muscle memory, and it's very classical gaming. And I enjoy it. I got frustrated. It took me longer than almost any other aspect of the game. And the payoff is always great because there's always a big story section afterwards. But that is definitely going to turn people off, and I know that. Another aspect, because it's a Metroidvania, you can go back and do almost everything else in the map. You can go back and access, like, everywhere.
Yeah,
so,
with it being... Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so the issue that I would have is that these temples, once you go through, they're off limits completely. And like I did, and like a lot of the reviewers did, we get about 95% completion in it, and then just assume that we could go back, and you can't. So for perfectionists, that's just blemish.
Painful. That's painful.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was the number 1 in the world when I played it, and I had 99% completion. It just killed me. I couldn't go back and get 100.
Sure.
So yeah, that basically answers my next question. Was going to be, how did you play it? Like going through and going back into the Metroidvania sort of areas, or just going for the story? But I guess you already just answered that with a 99% completion.
Right. Though it wasn't like I was going out there looking to complete the map. Mm-hmm. I think I just went in there, and each power-up made me feel stronger, and I was looking to level up all of the ability trees I had. So
it's like fun to explore and go to the other areas?
Yeah, exactly. And the story is pretty organic. The story happens when it happens, and I guess I'm the type of person that I want to make sure I try to get everything I can before moving on to the next major story area, which they make very clear.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel inclined to go back and play it again just to get that 100%?
Oh, I absolutely will. I want to get I want to 1,000 scored. Is that something?
Yes.
I don't know. I know that you platinum trophy stuff, and I wish Xbox had one of those, just like a small sticker that I could say I got 1,000.
Right.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is I asked that question because I'm one of those types of people, too, where I try and do everything before progressing the story. But there's some stories that it gets under my skin, like Batman Arkham City, which, mild spoilers for you have a disease that's slowly killing you, So in my mind, I'm like, I can't do all of these side quests. I'm going to die. This doesn't make any sense. So sometimes I just throw in logic where it doesn't need to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that
This is
the
a video
Uncharted disease because I would never, the first time playing an Uncharted game, I would never look for treasure unless it was super obvious.
Right.
I just wanted to rip through that story so fucking fast.
But that's the whole like Dragon Age dilemma is we are trying to patch the hole in the sky, but let me go look at your yak for an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, that's good. As long as it's, it's good enough to make you feel like you want to go back and play it. And just to get this clear, so you played this on Xbox One.
Right, I played it on Xbox One. It's also available on Steam.
Did you ever play on 360?
I did not play on 360. I don't own it. That's one of the consoles I don't own. Very few.
Man. That's a big one to not own.
Yeah,
I had one for a while, and then I sold it, and I kind of regret that. But the reason I was going to ask is, do you know of any differences? Were there any improvements between the Xbox 360 version and the Xbox One version?
That was going to be
PC version too.
That was going to be my final point, I think, with the downsides.
Well, you're going to make it now. Make your final point.
I'm going to make it right now. There are minor technical blips on the radar, which are just some frame rate stutters. And Xbox One has them. I assume if Xbox One has them, Xbox 360 definitely has them, probably more often. And the only reason you can notice that is because everything seems so fluid all the time. So yeah, it's not a major thing that drags the entire game down. It's just it draws you from what I would call an otherwise perfect experience.
Sure. Interesting. Matt, do you have more questions?
No, I think we about covered it.
Lou is so damn good at answering these questions. I feel like he just answers them.
I'm just rattling them off.
Just killing it.
It's like he's been here before.
Oh, he does this a lot. If you didn't know, Lou is one of the longtime co-hosts of the MONG
podcast. MONG podcast.
And so he's pretty good at this podcast stuff.
It would be weird if you listened to the show and never heard of that. I would be grateful for you, but...
What, are you saying that we don't pull in tons of our own unique listeners?
I mean, we got Monster Hunter. He's a great guy.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, so Matt, tell Lou about the Monster Hunter story.
So one day we were going through seeing who would be on our next show, and this was around the time Monster Hunter 4 was coming out, and I would just always say Monster Hunter. It was by mistake at first, and then just kept going. And so he evolved into this old British super fan of the show, and he listens every week, and he writes us messages and sends us mail.
He is quite possibly our only fan.
Now, British super fan. That makes me feel like you have a voice for him. Have you done impressions of Monster Hunter?
It's just how we say Monster Hunter. Or Brian does the voice for it.
I don't do jack shit.
The listeners at home, they've probably heard it.
It's that whatever.
It off the air.
Monster Hunter sounds like whatever is going through your head when you say Monster Hunter.
Right.
So if he sounds like a British man, so be it.
Can we delineate whether it's Cockney British or formal British?
It's whatever you want. That's the magic of Monster Hunter.
The magical British man.
He's like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, it's like a global phenomena, us having all these fans across the world. So when you combine all of them, but he's British by nationality because that's where he's born in our thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Right. In my head, I don't know if you guys watch any of those really weird Cartoon Network shows, but in my head, he sounds like Pops from a regular show.
Yes.
That's how I envision it.
It's very similar.
I'm fine with that.
But yeah,
there you have it.
There you have Ori and the Blind Forest. Deuces. So Lou, do you have any final thoughts, things that we didn't ask about that you'd want to talk about, or
any last words?
Your overall experience with life.
I would tell everyone this is a game you should go get. If you have a PC that can run it, then get it. If not, this is one worth saving up for the Xbox One for. It would be what I'd call a system seller. I'm not sure if anyone's going to go out and spend $350 on a $20 game. What I do want to note is that Moon Studios, the studios in charge of this is their, I would say, first real game. It's technically their second game, and this very quickly bumped them up on my list to maybe my top 5 developers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is Moon Studios, did they make the Deadpool game? Or is that a different studio with Moon?
That's got to be someone. Is the Deadpool
that's a weird jump.
Activision?
Yeah, that would be a really weird jump.
Then that's High Moon Studios.
High Moon, yes, that's right, thank you.
Moon Studios previously made, it's like, I think Warpool or something. It's a weird first-person shooter, and I don't think anyone's played it. There's like 2 videos on YouTube, and then they came out of nowhere and made Ori and the Blind Forest, which is on everyone's mind at the moment.
Do you think that this is a game that could become a series?
I don't want it to become a series. I don't think it should. I think that their talent is clearly art design and story, and I think any follow-up story would just be derivative of, if I'm being honest. So they should probably just move on and make another touching, heartwarming story in a new world with new characters.
Sure. I mean, I feel like that takes a lot for a studio to make a game that blows everyone away and then just say, that was it. We're done with that. Hopefully they can do that, because that's what needs to happen for a lot of studios. So maybe they'll be the ones.
Right. I mean, that's what they did with. They're not making Gone Home 2, for instance. Right. They're making another, just breathtaking, story-driven game. I'm not talking about High Moon. I'm talking about what's the name of them? Fulbright. But yeah, I guess that is a long-winded final remark.
No, that's good. That's a good-winded final remark. So Matt, I'll let you.
Good-winded final remark.
Wait, I have a question for you guys now.
Yeah, hit us up.
Did I convince you? Are you going to play this game?
From your review, I was already fairly convinced, and now you convinced me even more. The hard decision I'm trying to make now, I don't have an Xbox One, so I don't know if I'm going to speed up that cycle or try and play it on my MacBook.
I don't know. Maybe it would work on Mac. I didn't check if it works for Mac.
For Mac, yeah.
I will say, yes, you convinced me. However, I also, like Matt, do not have an Xbox One. I could run it on my MacBook, but I'd prefer not to play games on my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
However, as soon as I do buy an Xbox One, which should be this year, probably this holiday season, it'll definitely instantly go on the list. With that said, also, Matt and I kind of have this running thing where everyone who comes on the show, by the end of the interview, we're always like, man, this is a kick-ass game. We should play this. And I've yet to play any of the games.
Yep.
I'm going to hold you to it then.
Well,
so
maybe
you're
confessing, yeah. I will to confess that I haven't.
So as soon as you see, Lou, when I buy an Xbox One, I'll give myself a week. If I don't buy it within a week, then you can come to New York City and just punch me in the face.
That is not too far from me, so I wouldn't make such bold claims.
Well, I mean,
20-minute drive.
Hold myself to it. So
right.
But no, yeah, your review is great. This game seems great. I will play it.
I will too.
This reminds me, you're in New York City. Why didn't we just do this live?
Live? Yeah. We could do that at some point.
That just seems a little ridiculous that we didn't do this with beers.
Well, I didn't realize you were so close. We can do lots of things with beers.
I'm over in Valley Stream in Long Island. Oh my God, people are going to stalk me now.
And you can put my consciousness into a robot next to you. So. Well,
you're in the same time zone. And you could just fly up. But yeah, Lou, I didn't realize you were so close. We could make this happen. We could do a special podcast that's just live with Brian and Lou.
Yeah, we got to, or maybe I'll just review some more big name games, and we'll do this.
Yeah, but you have to do it for PlayStation 4, so I can finally play one of these games.
At this point, we've just evolved away from Ori and the Blind Forest discussion to meta podcasting discussion.
That's fine.
But
that's what we're all about.
That's what Monster Hunter. What's his name?
Yes.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter. That's what he listens for.
Yes.
Yeah, he likes these inside looks. He really likes when he finds out our locations, because then he comes and
he writes them down.
He monster hunts us down.
Oh my god.
And with that, we will end this portion of the show. Thank you again, Lou, for coming on and enlightening us with this beautiful game that is Ori and the Blind Forest.
Thanks, Lou.
No problem. I love being on here.
And we'll look forward to having you back
Soon. Live.
Okay.
soon.
Live with beers.
With
All
beers.
of us.
All of us. Matt, you're flying up. I'll pay for your ticket.
All right.
All
It's
right.
happening.
All right.
See you, Lou.
Mong.
Jake, welcome back. This is your second time on More Than
Yes,
the
it
Score.
is.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm busy, I'm sure, as most are this time of year.
Yeah, it's a busy time of the year, and you've been busy playing Hotline Miami 2, Wrong Number, correct?
That is correct. I've been really busy playing it. Having a lot of
And-
fun, too.
What are your general thoughts on Hotline Miami 2?
I think it's fantastic. It's basically anything you'd want a sequel to be. I mean, it's longer and bigger, as I said before.
Heyo!
And the story's a bit more complex, and I didn't care much for it, but I thought it was still kind of interesting. It still had that weird sort of disjointed, intriguing, cryptic story.
Very nice. For anyone that didn't play the first Hotline Miami, it was also very fantastic. It's a top-down shooter. It's super gory. It's old school arcade looking. There's tons of blood and kills are
Excellent
just
music.
ridiculous. The music's great.
Yeah.
So is it just more of that?
For the most part, yeah, I'd say it's just more of that. I mean, they do introduce a couple new mechanics, new masks, but nothing too big. I'd say the biggest difference between this and the last one is that the levels are bigger, the level design's a bit more intricate, and the story is a lot more complex, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And before I let Matt ask a question, because I want to keep him silent as long as possible, they said that Devolver Digital, who made the game, said that this is not only the sequel, but it's kind of like the end of the Hotline Miami story. Did you get the feeling at the end of this game that this is it?
Yes. Yeah, I think it wraps it up pretty well. It's still confusing and you have to think about it for a while. But without spoiling anything, yeah, I'd say it's a pretty solid conclusion to the not trilogy, but whatever it is, duology.
To the saga. Let's just call it a saga.
Yeah, we'll just call it a saga.
What defines a saga? When can you call something a saga?
I think you just have to have multiple parts to be a saga. But then
Yeah.
again, could a saga just be one? I don't know what the actual definition of a saga is. Hang on, Matt, you ask a question, I'll find out.
You look it up. But yeah, I was gonna ask you. Keep talking about the complexity of the story, and did it ever feel like that got in the way of gameplay?
For the first part, I wouldn't say it ever got in the way of gameplay, but for the first part, for at least the first 6 or 7 missions, I had no idea what was going on. I mean, it would jump between time periods, it would jump between characters. I think you must play at least 6 different characters in this game. There's parts in the 80s, there's parts in the 90s. To be honest, it's really jumbled at the beginning. But then that didn't affect my gameplay. I wasn't how some games, if the story's not that good, it's hard to get myself to push through. With this, I was just having fun playing it, so I didn't really think about that. And then when the story did start to kick in, I was like, oh, okay, that now things start to make sense.
Right. And then with Brian, do you have the saga definition?
I have the definition of the saga. I'm fast with Google. I was ready 3 minutes ago. So a saga is just a long story.
Okay.
Okay.
So anything that is long could be a saga.
I guess you can call this a saga. I mean, it's kind of long.
I mean,
Yeah.
I get that sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, continue on.
But what I was gonna say, you mentioned different characters. Is that different masks, or are they different characters with completely different storylines inside it?
So there's, I don't want to spoil everything, but you play as a couple masked vigilantes. Those are the characters where you can pick what mask you want, but it's kind of limited. It's not like the other one where you load up and you'd have this long line of masks to pick from.
Right.
It kind of varies between character. The masked vigilante characters, you can decide between a couple masks, and then you play as a rider, and he actually doesn't have any masks. And well, actually, a lot of the characters don't even have masks. Instead, it's weapons that you pick from. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I think I'm getting a bit off track, but yeah.
But yeah, so is playing as different characters, do they feel mechanically different, or is it based off of what you pick?
It's based off what you pick. Just like the first, all the characters basically feel the same. One interesting thing though is that one of the characters doesn't really kill anyone. I mean, you can kill people with him, but it's just kind of a stark contrast considering, most of the time you come in with a baseball bat and bash people's faces in. With him, it's like he knocks them out, and it makes sense when you play it, but it's kind of weird.
It's weird not seeing a pool of blood on the floor after finishing a level.
That's interesting. How does that work? Just knocking people out with the mechanic of, because in the first game you could knock people down, but they'd instantly get up and just kill you.
Yeah.
Like, is there like a dedicated like knockout?
No, you still just swing. So is this character? It's only like 2 parts in it. You knock them down and they like kind of roll around on the ground. But if you do like knock them down while they're down and then get on them, you can kill them in this super brutal, violent, gory way. That I'm not sure why it's there, but I guess it just kind of is there to show how unstable one of the characters might be. That doesn't give any spoilers, by the way. But yeah, I mean it's kind of a weird section. It kind of felt out of place, but at the same time, it did kind of make sense. I don't know.
And did you play the hard mode that you unlock after beating the game?
I haven't played it yet. I've just been playing the standard mode, and I found that difficult enough. I mean, this game, like the first, is really hard. Some sections it's even harder, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it's got that same sort of, I don't want to say charm, because there's not really much charming about this game. But like you just die, repeat, and then you slowly kind of figure out what you need to do, and then by the end you complete the mission, and it's satisfying because you died 50,000 times, but you finally got to the end by trial and error.
Yeah, that was one of those kick-ass things about the first one that I enjoyed, is that you kind of have fun dying at some point because it's so fucking ridiculous, like everything that happens. And then when you do it, it's like, it made it worth it that you just spent 20 minutes trying to do something that you could do in 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's you run into the first guy in a room and he kills you instantly, so you have to figure out how to beat him. Then the next guy will kill you after he beats you, and just so on and so forth.
Exactly. Every enemy is an issue in that game. Like, you have to plan out how you're going to take out each one, and even then, some guy could burst in through the door and just shoot you while you're not prepared. It's very fast paced.
Yeah. And what do you think about the soundtrack? Does it seem like a copy of the first games?
I wouldn't say it's like a copy. There are some familiar songs. I'd say they're remixes, but I mean it's a lot more expansive. I was looking through the track list, and it's a lot longer, and it's fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of music, but it just fits the game so well, Like when you're clearing a house, you get those synthetic bass swamps and stuff like that, and then once you kill everyone, it just gets dead silent again, and it's pretty intense.
Makes you feel like a boss, as the kids say.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you played on the Vita, you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, I've played on the Vita mostly. I played a little bit on PlayStation 4. So far, both run great. The only one I haven't played it on is PC, because I don't have a PC to play it on. But it runs great on the Vita. It runs great on the TV, or on the PlayStation. It is a bit more difficult on the Vita, though. The smaller screen, makes it a bit hard. But
right. Yeah, I thought it was very strange. Like, when I was playing the first one on the Vita, I would take it on the train, and that was the only game where I'd have audible reactions to the game where it's just like oh, fuck, or it just, god damn it, what's going on? Because usually I'm playing something that I'm just sitting there silently, just staring at a screen, but this one, it's really hard not to just have an outburst. Yeah. You get to the room where all right, this is the end of this level, and then somebody just dominates you out of nowhere.
Yeah, just out of nowhere too. You step in and a guy just turns around and shoots you and you're dead.
Right. So I ended up like for the last 5 levels of the first game, I had to just play it like in my room late at night when nobody's around, or else I sound like a freaking idiot.
Yeah, the rest of the people on that train are probably just staring at you like, what's his problem?
You know, honestly, I bet they were probably thinking like, that guy's totally normal. He's just having a bad day.
Yeah.
I mean, New York has some pretty weird things, so not that crazy.
They're also probably wondering why a grown man's playing a PSP on the train.
I know, they're like, what's that Nintendo Game Boy doing over there?
See, I'd be uncomfortable with people watching me play this game because they think I was like sick or twisted because it is so violent, and the first scene like takes things a bit too far. I thought like there wasn't really much of a point to it, and they do kind of like cut before it happens, but still like I mean, it's hard to watch, and it's weird because you wouldn't think that because it's just all pixelated little sprites running around, but like some of it is really tough to sit through.
Is this the controversial rape scene?
Yes.
Yeah. They got a lot of press because, you know, Australia decided to ban the game.
Oh, Australia.
Because of this scene. Yeah, Australia, of all countries, the one that was
I know, right?
started as a prison colony.
They like banned, wasn't like Saints Row 4, like when that came out? They have like a history of banning things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's like all the conservative politicians from America just go there and tell them to get rid of video games.
Yeah. I mean, but you can't skip the scene, so like you can't get around it, but still, like I didn't skip it, and I was just like, I just didn't see the point in it. I was like, why include this?
Right.
But the way it is done too, it's not as bad as it could be, but it's still pretty hard to watch.
Yeah, it's just kind of the intent that you pick up. I mean, you don't necessarily see what's going on. I mean, but you definitely infer exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of weird. And the level designer was something I thought was a really cool idea. This is something that you haven't had any experience with, correct?
Yes, this is something I haven't tried. I can't find it on the Vita. I'm going to guess it's probably on the PlayStation 4. Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure. It's something that I do intend to include in my review when it's done, though, because I'm going to try it out. If it's good, I'll probably spend a lot of time doing it. I mean, especially if you can like download maps other people have created. Like, I think this game could have a very long shelf life.
Sure, that was my next thing. Is, you know, I'm sure there are people out there that just make unbelievable levels. You know, probably already. There are probably some out there by now.
And like I was reading something. It's like, so they're not making a Hotline Miami 3, but other people probably will, like with all the level creator and stuff.
And with the way these games work, you don't necessarily need like a story. The story's nice, but it's really just about that in-level action. So keep playing this forever, as long as the Vita's alive, which is like another 6 months at this rate. Sweet, Matt. Hit more questions. Go.
Hit more questions. Go.
Hit more questions.
Hit more. I'm only a yellow belt. I'm not sure if I'm qualified for this.
You need your Technicolor Hotline Miami belt. All those sweet pastel colors.
Oh yeah.
It's a really colorful game. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I Lots of red.
Are either of you colorblind by chance?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I mean,
I have a friend who is though.
You should have that person play Hotline Miami and see what it looks like to them.
And then ask them what color the dress is.
Yes.
What color is the dress, Jake?
We're not going to talk about that.
We're not going to talk about that.
Did we talk about this with Lou?
I think we talked about it with Courtney.
We talked about it with Courtney last week. That's right. Or not 2 weeks.
Week before.
Wait, how long ago did this happen?
I don't remember.
I don't know. It's the internet, so 20 years ago?
Man.
Probably.
I mean, it feels like 20 years ago.
What is going on? The dress is blue, by the way.
I see white gold.
I see white and gold.
This
is the second time Courtney also saw white and gold.
But
you're alone, Brian.
It's science. I'm fine being alone because I'm right. So
I acknowledge that it's blue and black, but I see white gold.
Yeah,
that's fair. You can say that you see it, but as long as you know that you're wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
So, of course it doesn't matter because it's not Hotline Miami 2. Wrong number.
And when Jake sees Hotline Miami 2, he sees a very good game.
That I do.
All right, Jake, you have 60 seconds. Tell us everything about this game that you want to say that we didn't talk about, or just repeat yourself. Totally up to
60,
you.
59,
I'll
58,
probably just repeat myself, but it's
56, 55.
is everything. I can't do it with this pressure. I can't.
Count in your head, damn it.
Okay. Let me gather myself here. It's everything that you'd want a sequel to be. The level design's better. The missions are structured better. The story's more interesting while it's not as good. I thought it's frustrating as hell still. One scene in particular, like, actually, I guess that is one negative I can say about this game, is that sometimes it is a bit too difficult. I'm definitely over 60 seconds now, but yeah,
That's okay.
it's weird because the difficulty spikes up a lot for some scenes, and I'll be stuck there for an hour or so, and then the next scene I'll clear in 2 minutes, and then in the scene after that I'll clear in like 10 minutes, and the scene after that I'll clear in a couple minutes, and then I'll be stuck at another one for an hour, and it just kind of does that, and it's kind of a pain.
Interesting. So you get a little like sine wave of frustration.
Yeah, it definitely happens. Luckily, it's in my room, not on a train, so it's like,
Yeah. So people still think you're normal. That's what matters.
yeah, I'm the only one who gets to hear me curse.
Yeah, that's fair. Lots of people, unfortunately, get to hear me do that. Matt, was that 60 seconds?
Sure, why not?
All right, good enough. However, the good thing is, the reason I wanted to wrap up talking about Hotline Miami 2 is because, Jake, it's time. You're our special guest. We're going to talk about the Arctic Monkeys now.
Okay, all right, I'm all for that.
I mean, you mentioned it. You wanted your music podcast, so this is going to have to do for now. So we have a few minutes here. We don't necessarily have to talk about the Arctic Monkeys, but just whatever's on your mind.
I think the
Let's do
Arctic
it.
Monkeys is a good starting off point because I've been listening to "Stop the World." I want to get off with you. I don't know if you heard that, but it was like one of the singles for AM, and it is killer.
Yeah, AM is pretty. It's pretty great. However, the reason I got into the Arctic Monkeys was when Humbug, which was the album right before AM, I believe, it was produced by Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I have to listen to this. If he's going out of his way to like have creative direction for a band, they must be pretty damn good. And so I
Yeah.
started listening to Humbug, and then when AM came out, it just like blew me away.
Yeah, AM kind of blew me away too. I remember listening to their, what was it, Suck It and See album, and I thought that one was pretty good, but I never really got into it. And then this one came out, and that was it for me.
Yeah, this is one of those weird albums, kind of like the Black Keys thing, where it's just like you have an album that's like you have multiple albums that are really good, and then you all of a sudden have one album that has like 6 top 20 singles,
Yeah.
and it doesn't make any sense, but they're all great. And so
Yeah. Have you seen them live?
I have not. They
Neither
came
have I.
here. They came here in last fall, I believe. They came here with Cage the Elephant, and I wanted to go,
Okay.
but I had
I've
to work.
seen Cage the Elephant. Haven't seen them though.
Yeah, I would love to see Cage the Elephant as well. They're pretty spectacular.
They were really good live, but they hardly played for an hour. Like I was
Really?
kind of bummed. Like they just came out with their third album too, so they had plenty of like stuff to go from, but they played an hour. I think it was because the crowd got a bit too rowdy, but still, like
Were they headlining?
Interesting.
they were headlining too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the opener played almost just as long as them.
Man,
that'd be
that is
disappointing.
unfortunate. Yeah, I would love to watch them play for 2 hours, but I can imagine they're very high energy, and I imagine a lot of their fans are totally fucking nuts.
Yeah, like I had been to that venue plenty of times for like tons of concerts, and like they had to have security like pull people off because people were trying to crowd surf and stuff like that, and like people were trying to climb on stage. So I mean, if I was them, I'd probably would have ended it too. But still, it was like I paid $40 or so for a concert that was barely an hour.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty shitty. That's kind of how concerts are now. It's like, it used to be like punk concerts and whatnot, like actual punk, not like the early 2000s pop punk stuff. Used to be, super intense. There, the multiple mosh pits throughout the entire thing, like bloody noses, bruises, all that kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
And then now I went to a concert a month ago, and it was that kind of music, but it was like borderline metal, and it was just a lot of standing around. It's
Yeah.
like, man, this is crazy.
You might be going to the wrong concerts because this was last summer. I saw a band called Counterparts, and they're like
Mhm.
melodic hardcore. It's basically the transition from the old school punk, but with screaming and with like metal elements. And so I got kicked in the back of the head a couple times. A
my
guy
gosh.
bled like all over the floor, and at one point during the set, someone like grabbed onto a pipe above them and started like swinging on it. They were going crazy. So
Jeez.
yeah, so security stopped that, but then they played and more chaos ensued.
I used to go to Warp Tour during my angsty younger days, and
Hmm.
like I swear people didn't even care much for the music, and they just go there so they could just get in fights in the center, and like
Yeah.
you'd like push through and just see like all these people just running around, like people would be on the floor like bleeding and stuff. It's craziness.
Yeah, I need to find where that is. Of course, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to get kicked in the head, but
No,
Yeah, it's
I
just
do
the
like-
energy that's good.
exactly. This is actually a good question for you guys. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Ooh. One of the first concerts I went to was Pearl Jam, and they got Chris Cornell to play with them, so they played some Temple of the
Nice.
Dog stuff.
Very
So
cool.
that was really cool, and it was like almost 3 hours long. But then I saw the National, and it was like an outdoor venue, and it started raining, and that was pretty cool. It's very spiritual.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And then I've been to my favorite band is Periphery. They're a progressive metal band, and I saw them live it was more than a year ago, maybe a year and a half or two. But they were just amazing because it was exactly what you heard on the album. They're one of the bands that they have creative rights over their record deals, so then they produce their own stuff and just never like mess with like vocals, never mess with autotune or anything. So everything
That's
just sounded
awesome.
like perfect and like how you expected it to be. And also, one of the things is they have 3 guitarists, and they always
Mhm.
not like this guy's lead, these two are rhythms. They always swap out, so it depends on who took direction on which song. So they're just constantly switching off on solos, and just like yeah, and it's ridiculous and just great
That-
live.
Yeah, that's kind of cool because you get, all three different styles. I'm sure it sounds similar, but, everybody has their own little quirks with
Yeah.
soloing. And so it's cool not to have to listen to the same guy solo every song over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. When I was younger, I used to like Avenged Sevenfold a lot, and then I got really tired of listening to Sinister Gates, and so I was like, this is all right, but I've heard this solo 100 times. So
So, what's the best concert you've been to, Brian?
my best, and this is a total homer pick because I love the Foo Fighters,
Okay.
and so I saw them in 2012, right after Wasting Light came out.
Okay, I did
And-
too.
Yeah, that tour was pretty fucking cool. Were they with Rise Against when you saw them?
No, they were actually with Cage the Elephant when I saw them.
Oh, damn it! You were one of the show. That's right.
Yeah,
Cage the
except
Elephant
I
was
got
like
there
half
late,
the
missed
tour.
Cage the Elephant. I was so pissed.
That's too bad. Yeah, so half the tour was Cage the Elephant, the other half was Rise Against as like their second or their like biggest opening band. But Rise Against was great. That was the second time I'd seen them, and so I've listened to them since their first album came out. They were also, to tie this into video games, they were on the soundtrack for Need for Speed Underground
They're
or
also
Need for Speed
on
Underground
the-
2.
They're also on the soundtrack for Watch Dogs.
Were they
Okay.
really?
Yeah.
I think it's because they're from Chicago. That's probably how they got
Oh yeah.
roped in there. So yeah, the
So
Foo
that
Fighters show.
soundtrack doesn't entirely suck then.
The Foo Fighters is definitely number one. Number two, I have it's like 1A and 1B. They're both tied for the top. And that was Death Cab because it was an outdoor show in Columbus. It was like September, so the weather was perfect. And they just they started right as the sun was going down. And they played for like 2.5 hours. And It's pretty sweet.
The
And
only,
especially now that Chris Walla, their guitarist, has quit, you will never get to see the full original band again. So
Yeah.
I'm jealous because the only outdoor shows I've been to are at Warped Tour, and so everyone's just sweaty and gross, and it's so hot out.
Mhm.
One year I had like second-degree sunburns, so that wasn't fun.
Jeez.
I saw Mumford and Sons at a big outdoor venue, and there was like I think there was 20,000 people there, and they did an
Yeah.
acoustic song. They they all gathered around one microphone with their guitars and stuff and played, and that was pretty cool. I was right in front, and I just remember looking
Mhm.
back and just like seeing just more people I've ever seen in my entire life gathered together.
That's nuts. That would be cool. Yeah, outdoor shows are great, Matt. You should, if you have any venues around you where you can go. There's a great place in Columbus that it was like a double venue. So there's a stage in the center, and then on one side of the stage is connected to the indoor part of this complex, and then the outside there's just this big like hill, and so you could sit and so they would like switch. So if it's like shitty weather, they'd move concerts inside, or vice versa. And so, it wouldn't be 20,000 big, but there were usually like 6,000 or 8,000 people
Yeah,
at these
still
things.
insane.
Yeah, and so it's pretty massive. But yeah, I saw Cake there one year. They had like this big summer show, and Cake was the headliner, and so they started at like 10 p.m. and it's just Cake is nuts live.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and they have it. It's kind of crazy when you watch them live to realize how much of their music has like been a part of our lives for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. That's another really good show. You can hear more of this on our music podcast we'll be creating very soon, obviously.
Coming soon.
Could be the three of us. Because it seems like we all have very, not different. I guess, Jake, you and I seem to listen to a lot of overlapping music, but then we have Matt, the metal head guy.
Yeah.
Whatever I am. We still have similar interests, like going back to like Pearl Jam and of course Led Zeppelin. I used to listen to like classic stuff, so I still have those influences too. I'm also
We really
curious-
should. Oh, go ahead.
Brian, don't you play guitar because you have that picture, your
I do.
profile picture. And Jake, do you play an instrument?
No.
Ah,
I've tried so many times.
we could start a band, the MONG
We could
band.
start a Google
Come
Hangout
on,
band.
man.
Yeah,
That'd be cool. We could do everything digitally. We just send each other GarageBand files.
yeah.
That would be.
I can do vocals. That's what I can do. I can do very bad vocals.
If you ever just feel the need, you should just give it another shot because you never know when it's gonna stick. But it's like super satisfying to actually write music.
I do. Like usually during the summer, I get back into it and I get a little bit better, and then things start to start again, and then I suck again, and then I start again. I get a little bit better. So I think in 5 or 10 years, I'll be halfway decent.
Well, you got a good long life ahead of you. You could like honestly, I remember the first time that really hit me that like I could do this forever was I walked into this local music store back in Columbus, and they had like maybe like 20 guitars, and most of them were acoustic. And there was this guy in there that was like in his 60s, and he walked in and just, he said he was looking to buy a guitar, and he just pulled down this acoustic guitar, and he wasn't like crazy good or anything, but he was really proficient and very smooth. And it was like, man, I could be 60 and say that, hey, I've been playing for like 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Hopefully I'm better at 60 than I am at 25, but we'll see what happens.
People listening to this podcast are gonna be like, "What? Dude, what happened to the reviews?"
Yeah, don't skip to like the last 20 minutes of this podcast because then you'll end up right here. So, cool. Well, Matt, do you have anything else you'd like to add about Hotline Miami 2 or music or just anything about Jake's life? This is our time to probe.
I think he'll be on the show again, so we'll save our questions for then. But
Yeah, I don't want to play favorites, but Jake, you're definitely my favorite person to have on the show so far.
All right, I'm happy.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for talking about Hotline Miami. Can't wait to actually play this one. Matt, you always agree with me. We agree with each other.
yes.
We'll get around to it someday.
Definitely. The sooner the better. It is a good one.
Yes, I will keep that in mind. So, Well, farewell until next time. Enjoy the music and living in California, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, see you soon.
All right, thanks, Jake.
Well, I hoped you loved listening to that as much as we did. Right, Brian?
Woo! Yeah, man,
Woo!
I'm so stoked. We talked about so many kick-ass bands in those last 10, 12, 15 minutes, whatever that was.
That was
a good time.
And a half.
Yep. In fact, while I edit this podcast, I almost guarantee I will be listening to the podcast along with one of those bands in the background.
This is true.
So, although an addendum to the music conversation, we're gonna extend it here a little bit. I started listening to the Strokes more.
Mm-hmm.
It'd been like a few years.
Sweet. They were
they were big time back in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it was weird because I hadn't listened to them in a really long time, and oddly enough, they were on the soundtrack of NBA 2K15 picked by Pharrell, and that was I forget the song on it, but it was one of their newer ones, and I was like, this is probably my favorite song on here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got on there because Julian Casablancas, the lead singer, is friends with like everyone in the music industry, it seems. Like he's done like pop songs, he's written pop songs. He did a song with The Lonely Island, that's the name of it.
Ooh,
that was pretty good. Called like Boombox, I think what it was called. It's pretty good. The music video was alright. It wasn't as funny as the other Lonely Island stuff.
Is that the one where he like plays a boombox in an elderly home and they start having sex?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So you're familiar. You're
I'm
familiar. Oh yeah. Awesome. Well, so there you go. I'll probably be listening to the Strokes now. Yeah. In the meantime, we hope you enjoyed this lovely episode. All the questions that we asked and all the answers that people gave us. They're good in that combination. In that order. It's better that way than them answering the question and then us asking the question.
We could
Don't
do
you
a
think?
Jeopardy style.
We could.
Yeah, next week they just start like talking about stuff, and then we have to guess what they were talking about. I think that could work. Maybe not next week.
I would enjoy that. Maybe if we did like rapid fire questions, like short, we can't have them talk for like 2 minutes and then guess, but if they gave like a short thing that we could. Yeah, I like that idea. I still think we should have like a classic game podcast where we'll have like 2 or 3 people, or it could be extra long, and people just come on and talk about their favorite games of all time and give like mini 5-minute reviews. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Write that down too.
Yeah.
I
will. I'm gonna scrub this. I'm not really gonna scrub this out, but I'm gonna scrub that out so nobody can steal that idea out in the podcast world.
Since we started this podcast, we've created ideas for 5 other podcasts. I'm almost certain.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Is that you just start talking and then you realize how much you like talking, and then you start thinking of all these other things that you could conceivably talk about. But I think we're getting sidetracked.
We are getting sidetracked.
Hey-oh. So let's get back on the rails here for a second. Next week, we haven't confirmed, but we're hoping to have Courtney, I believe, on to talk about Final Fantasy Type 0 HD.
And also maybe talk about that little demo that came with it, the Final Fantasy 15 demo.
That little demo.
That little demo.
Lots of people talk about. And then Sean, I believe, is the reviewer for Battlefield Hardline.
The Strong Finch, as they call him.
The Strong Finch. Who calls him that?
That was his nickname from the nickname generator. Was it?
Oh, did I miss something?
No, this was like a while. This was like the week before we were on the MONG podcast, and Sean was on with us. I might be getting it wrong. I know it has Finch in the name.
Did we talk about it on the podcast?
Yeah, we did. Because we were trying to figure out our nickname, and then we became the Opa Opa Bros.
That's right. Man, my memory is terrible these days. That was like a month and a half ago. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
It was a simpler time.
That was when Dying Light was still a game, but now nobody really talks about that much anymore. So it was fun times. But yeah, so we'll have the strong Finch or something Finch, Mr. Sean. Sean will be on to talk about Battlefield Hardline, because that is still a game too. So
Indeed.
hopefully he enjoys that one. Hopefully he says yes. If he says no, we're gonna kneecap him, and then one of us will impersonate.
Yes. Or we'll just talk about the game, even though I'm not gonna play it. Are you gonna play it?
I'm definitely not gonna play it. Battlefield Hardline is as far from my interest as almost humanly possible.
I concur. So, but we'll talk about it anyways. What
Yeah,
we think
that'll
the
be
game
fine.
is. Yeah.
It'll probably get a pretty harsh run, but it's okay. Maybe one day we'll play it. So
Yeah.
So let's tell the people how they can contact us. Matt, why don't you tell the people?
Yes, they can contact us through email, send us questions and comments and other types of things at contact.mong@gmail.com.
Send
Go
us
ahead.
cool links to stuff. I'm sorry, you might have to repeat that because I totally jumped in there all over that. But send us your comments and concerns and cool links to funny videos or cat memes or
I really like pictures of Guy Fieri that say not all heroes wear capes. So just send a bunch of those.
I'm sure I might do that now just to entertain.
That's like right up my alley. But once again,
there we go.
Once again, that is contact.mong@gmail.com. You can follow our Twitter account at mong.com, all spelled out. You can find us on YouTube, where we're doing a bunch of cool news and stuff called the News from Nowhere at youtube.com/mongnetwork. You can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram through Middle of Nowhere Gaming or Mong or whatever. You know us. You know who we are. And you can check out, of course, middleofnowheregaming.com for our latest editorials, news, and reviews.
And all of our past podcasts you can find on there.
This is true. And also our Twitch at Mong Plays. There's no ads on Twitch, is there? Yes, there's
no ads. It's just www.twitchtv.com/Mong Plays. Is that it? Is it .com or is twitch.tv?
It's
Man,
Twitch.tv.
I'm behind the times.
They were one of those TV websites.
Yeah. There you go. You'll find us. If you give Google a good search, you'll find pretty much anything you want Middle of Nowhere Gaming wise.
If that doesn't work, what you can always do, find a magic lamp, then use the genie from that. It'll direct you to us.
Yeah, and then you have 2 more wishes, so I mean you're like golden at that point.
You're golden.
So,
pure golden.
Golden. Super. Especially if he comes out and he's voiced by Robin Williams, then you know you're really in the shit.
Oh yeah. You're about to be the prince of the made up country. But it's okay, you get to pray and stuff.
Yep. Oh man.
No one's listening at this point in the show, so it's okay.
Yeah, we lost them all in the music talk, so it doesn't even matter now. That's okay. It's been fun. I've enjoyed myself. Have you enjoyed yourself, Matt?
I have enjoyed myself very much. And
see, that's good. That's good.
And so
I told you we didn't need any foreplay.
Oh, this is true. Cut right to the chase, and it worked out just fine.
Oh yeah.
But you interrupted my segue, so.
Oh God.
But
so
anyways.
Terrible.
Our guests for today, Lou and Jake, you can find them on Twitter. Lou is at Lou Cantaldi, and Jake is at Jacob Deck with 2 Ks at the end. And you can find. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Jake Deck, but just to Jake Deck.
Deck. I think maybe you're adding one more extra.
Jake Deck.
Yes.
I don't. Whatever.
That was good. No, you got it. You can find myself at _M Batson, and you can find Brian at El Padre.
Oso. Oh, you got it. Okay.
I got it.
Very nice. I'm proud of you. We're a real team now because you know my Twitter handle
by heart. I'll have it tattooed on me by the end of the year.
Probably. As long as it's within a heart.
Of course. Where else would it
Yeah. Well, there are some places.
be?
There are some
And
places.
on that note,
there are
thank you
some
for
places
listening.
that we've got to be. So we're gonna get
Oh,
out of here. Yeah, you like that one, huh?
I liked that
You like
one.
that one. So we're gonna get out of here. It's been great. We hope you enjoyed. If you like the music talk, Jake did offer. He said that a music podcast is something that he'd be interested in doing. I don't know if that's something we can necessarily do through MONG, but it could be done in association with MONG. So if you guys like that, let us know, and we might conjure up some magic.
We can start a separate branch called Middle of
Mom,
Nowhere Music.
mom,
Mom.
supported by moms everywhere.
Yep.
That's a good idea. All right. On that note, moms and mongrels and mongers and
Don't forget the Mong stars.
mong stars. I like that one. And to Mr. Monster Hunster himself,
Monster Hunster.
I bid you all a good day, but especially to you, Matt Batson, I bid you farewell.
I bid you adieu, good sir.